Este fin de semana.
Este.
Sí, porque necesitamos decir el mismo género que la palabra fin. Y el fin es masculino, ¿sí?
Okay.
Yeah, so este fin de semana.
Este fin de semana. Sí.
Muy bien. ¿Y qué más? ¿Dónde tú tienes mucho trabajo en Alaska?
Sí. Ah, seré muy cansada después fin de semana.
Remember, we use estar for location and condition, right? So estaré
Estaré.
muy cansada este fin de semana.
That's a verb, right?
Estar.
Let me type that on here. I did these two, and I've been trying to work on these.
Nice. Good. Is that helping?
Yes, it's helping.
Good.
I did have a question. I don't know if you want to record.
Already started.
Oh, great. So the two verbs that I've been working on this week are ser and haber.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering what the difference is between haber and tiene.
So, yeah, that's a thing that I don't really agree. I see what they're doing on that website, but haber only means to have in the sense of grammar as a helping verb. It doesn't literally mean to have anything. In fact, the more traditional way to define that word is to exist or to be, because you use haber for the word, here I'll type it on the chat, for the word I, which means there is or there are, or are, right? And so in that way, it's more like to be, you know? But you know how in English, when we use the perfect tense and we say, like, I have seen that movie, we're not literally saying I have obtained sight of the movie, right? We're using have as a grammatical helping verb.
Okay.
So it's grammatically takes the place of have, yeah. But like semantically, no. Like it doesn't mean to have. And I don't really like I see what they're doing there, but I think that it can cause confusion just having it say on the website that it means to have it, because it doesn't really mean to have. So
if I wanted to say I have seen that movie, it would be ube or ata?
Nope, because remember, you're not literally using the word have in Spanish. Instead, you're using this word haber. So you say yo he, and then visto, because that's the perfect participle for ver. Yo he visto la película.
Yo he, so that's the he, the present.
Yeah, exactly.
So and even though I'm talking about something that's in the past, I'm using the present.
Well, it's your by virtue of having it in the present, that grammatically is the past.
Okay.
Let me show you a little bit more clearly.
All good questions this morning.
That's okay. That's good. I want that to be the case. All right. So let's take the word ver, to see. Right? Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
And so when you look here, this is where your participles are, and these should be on your charts, right? And so this is like seen. And when you say the the perfect tense, this is actually what you're doing, is you're using this form of to see.
Okay.
You know, English takes a lot of its participles from German, so they have kind of a German tendency. Okay, so they're really in English they're really weird. There's lots of different kinds of ways to make participles, but in Spanish they're very formulaic. You know, this one's obviously irregular because it has red, but then you take like a simple AR verb like hablar, right? And it's the formula for hablar is it's an AR verb, so you go hado. And so you take any AR verb, and most all of them, except for very few exceptions, are going to be hado. And then for the ing form participle is ando. And notice that that is in the English speaking, and then the perfect participle is spoken. Right? Because you can't say I have spoke, right? Mm-hmm. That's grammatically incorrect.
Right.
Some people make that mistake in English. I hear native speakers make that mistake, from time to time. But that's grammatically correct or incorrect, and you know that. You viscerally can feel that that's incorrect, right?
Right.
Because spoke is definitely different from spoken. In Spanish, that rule is a lot more consistent in how you form that, right?
Okay.
The spoke is here in preterite. And if you want to see a chart, just scroll down a little bit and go to perfect of whatever verb you're looking at, and it will show you what you're doing basically with haber. All of these are conjugations of haber, and then you just simply put the same participle on the end.
Okay.
So, he hablado, I have spoken. Has hablado, you have spoken. Ha hablado, he or she has spoken. Hemos hablado, we have spoken. Han hablado, they have spoken. Right? Mm-hmm. So then if you do a preterite, this one for the past perfect, right, is what we call pluperfect or pluscuamperfecto in Spanish. And that's just basically a way to say like, I had spoken before you arrived or whatever. You know what I mean? There are two things in the past, one before the other. That nobody really, if you don't use that, nobody will notice, right? If you just use the regular preterite or the regular perfect tense, nobody. So that's kind of as far as you need to go and that's called the present perfect. Even though it means the past, the reason why we call it the present perfect is because of two words that we're using in that conjugation. The first one is conjugated in the present, and the second one is in the perfect tense.
Okay.
See, so that's why we call it the present perfect.
I see.
And in English, we just call it the perfect tense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so basically, I want to just highlight this too to make it real easy for you. Is that in Europe, French and German must use this to say the simple past in their languages, spoken. But then they use the regular preterite or preterite tense for written only. Spanish isn't like that. Spanish is more like English. But in Europe, in Spain, actually Spanish people will use the perfect tense more often than preterite.
Okay.
And American Spanish speakers will use a preterite more often than more like English does, right? More like American English, where we use preterite more often and don't use perfect tense as much, right? But they mean the same exact thing. And so on SpanishDictionary.com, if you look up the word haber, and it says to have, that's all it means to have, is just in that grammatical thing using the perfect participle. That's all that really means. If I were going to make one change on this website, that would probably be the change that I would make, is to say to exist. Because if you look down here and there's I, that I only means there is or there are.
Right. Yeah, I have that on the chart here.
Yeah. So
I've been trying to do the chart, and then I'll write down some little sentences that might use those. Mm-hmm. Like I had we have everything we need, and then that came up as like TNA instead, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
because tener literally means, like, semantically means to have.
Okay, so like,
And then what's also nice about tener is that if you add other prefixes onto it, it means other variations of to have. So like obtener means to obtain, and like sostener means to hold, and like detener means to stop. So you can have other things that are close to the meaning of tener, and you just put other prefixes on it, and then it will mean those other specific things, and they usually look like English words. So like obtener kind of looks like obtain, and detener kind of looks like detain, right? And then what's nice about it is just you can kind of ignore the prefix and just conjugate exactly like you would tener, and then you know how to conjugate all those verbs.
okay,
Yeah.
so they just the prefix is different,
Yeah.
and the rest of the conjugation stays the same.
Yeah. The conjugations all stay the same. The meaning slightly would change for, like, obtener to obtain, sostener to hold, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I have been doing my Duolingo every day just to get back in like some kind of daily, like you said, speaking it out loud. And
How's that been going?
Good. I've done that every day, and then I'm trying to do two words a week.
Okay. How's that going?
Good. I just want to do more. Once I have them in the chart, I want to do more to like be using these so that I get more comfortable with them, with these verbs before I move on to some new ones.
Yeah.
So I think writing out the little sentences is working, but I would definitely be open to like any other practices I could do with these charts now that I have them, just to.
So every single verb that you look up on the conjugation chart or the conjugation tab has this green box here.
Okay.
And it gives you an automatic 10-question quiz on your conjugation. Right? And so if you click on it, you can, by default it does present, but then you can add preterite, imperfect, conditional, and future, the first 5 that we have that you already put in your chart, And then it will give you this present. How do you conjugate? This sentence doesn't mean anything. This like it doesn't. It's so weird. So, what would the dual conjugation for haber be?
It would be. It's present. Us.
Us. Good.
I also switched my chart. Like, I put them in order so that the preterite past is first, then imperfect past, then present, then conditional, then future. So that they're like linear in how they. I don't know. That's been helping a little bit, because when it was the other way with the present first, then the 2 past, then the 2 futures, I was like.
Well, how does your brain kind of break things down like that in that kind of a structure? And so you're doing yourself a favor by organizing it like that so that you can reference it in your brain faster.
Yeah, I kind of see it like linear, past, what word is that? I'm going back here.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's been helping a little bit. So I'm going to do them all that way.
Nice. Whatever works for you, because the charts are for you. If I were like a high school class teacher or a college professor or whatever, I would assign the verb conjugation charts for my students to write out, but I wouldn't really look at them. I would just look at them and make sure that they did it, but then I wouldn't like scrutinize it or whatever. I'd just be like, if that's what works for you, then that's good. Like, right. I just want them to do it, But
yeah, I think it's been going good. I feel like I'm having a little bit of a slight breakthrough with these charts. I feel like my mind's getting closer to getting around it. Yeah.
It's kind
And
of like digging through digging a tunnel,
yeah,
you know, and you know that if you keep on digging, you'll eventually break on through to the other side. But if you don't keep on digging, you won't.
right.
Yeah.
So I think I want to focus on the conjugation charts for a few more words, and then I want to pick your brain on the formulas for conjugating, because I feel like once I'm a little bit more familiar with more of those endings, then I can put in that piece of like, because when I know you say it now and you're like any AR verb changes to auto or this or that, but I am not remembering that for some reason. I think because I'm so focused on trying to know which conjugation I'm using.
I think too. What is really good to balance it with is you're doing a really good job at study. But are you using it enough to balance it out with the study?
I'm working on it.
Do you have a book to read?
I do have a book to read. I have not been reading it in Spanish.
That's okay. Don't make yourself feel bad or guilty or whatever, right? You gotta, if it's not one that you want to read in Spanish, then you gotta find a different one, right?
Right. I've started like putting some not so common words like around the house, like I want to put, maybe by the front door, a couple different things like,
oh, labels?
I'm going, or
yeah,
I'll be back, or just like things I would say on my way out the door, right? Or
you could say one really good one to put by the door would be like ir de compras.
Ir de compras.
Yeah, ir de compras is to go shopping.
Okay.
So ya voy a comprar, voy de compras, right? Voy a comprar a la tienda or whatever, right? So ir de compras.
Do you always pronounce the V as a B?
Always.
Always.
Yeah, the the vibrated V, does not exist in Spanish. Neither does the Z.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So you go, and that's why you say, when you say like the letter V, you always have to like qualify it, or the letter B in Spanish, you got to qualify it like B chica, or like B baja, or B de vaca, right? And then you say the B, you say it like B grande, or like B de barbacoa, or whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. You always have to qualify it because they sound the same.
Okay, what do you mean qualify?
You have to like say some extra information to make sure that people know what letter you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hear you say like vamos all the time, but then, like you'll hear other people that are.
It's kind of like if you.
And I'm like, which one is it?
Well, which other people? Native speakers?
No.
Yeah. So it's kind of like when you have like, let's say you have a French person who's been living in America for a long time, and they still insist on saying croissant. It's like, okay, yeah, in France that's how you say it, but in America, like, you can try to say it the American way. You know what I mean? So it's just my biggest for Spanish. I kind of, it's really easy to ignore that. I just want my students to know how to say it correctly. But the worst, I think, is in French when American students are going like reservoir, or or like voir, or whatever. It's like, well, that's not, just incorrect. Like, just please put a little effort. But yeah, it's something easy to forget. Honestly, I think the V is really easy to forget.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I pronounce the V quite a bit when it comes up, so I'll start working on that as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
No other questions?
That's about all I got done this week. I'm not getting as much done as I want to, obviously, but like I said, I'm trying to balance it out with everything else. And
remember the kind of, if you have a busy schedule, then the remedy for that is integration.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling like you're not putting enough time into it per week or whatever, what are some other ways you can integrate Spanish?
Right.
What is it?
Watching TV with Spanish when Mike's not home.
Well, Mike doesn't mind practicing with you, right?
Well, he's not really trying to learn Spanish, so if we're watching something, he doesn't want to have to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like.
Yeah. What about changing some of your electronics to Spanish? Have you thought about that?
No. That's scary.
That's a lot. That's a big step.
Right. Maybe I'll bring my Spanish book out to Shannon's if I don't need to read, and I can just if that's all I bring, then I'll have to read it, right? So I'll do my option.
You like so I have a little handheld video game thing that the battery lasts forever and it's super small and light, and it has in it, you can play the Zelda game in Spanish, French, or German.
Oh.
Wait, I don't know if it has Spanish. I know it has French and German, and I think it has Japanese. It might not have Spanish though. Honestly, I can look, but I can lend it to you if you want. If you want to try to play through a game,
I could maybe change my Stardew into Spanish.
Yeah, what's that on?
It's just on my computer, but I think it gives you the options for language.
Oh,
and
Stardew Valley has.
Playing it very much, but it might be a good one.
Stardew Valley has great language options.
Yeah, maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, because I feel like that seems like such an untapped, amazing way to practice.
Mm-hmm.
Is just because games, especially story-driven games, and I know Stardew Valley isn't really necessarily a story. It does have a story, but mostly it's about relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be excellent way to practice. So,
okay. Yeah. Then I can be like, I'm playing my game and practicing my Spanish.
Sometimes sometimes it can make playing the game feel like a chore.
Mm.
You know? So, be aware of that.
I'll try it and I'll let you know.
Okay.